In the quiet town of Somersworth, New Hampshire, the early morning hours are disrupted by an unexpected call to the local police station. A young woman reports hearing strange noises in her home, a sound that doesn't belong. The police arrive at the scene, their presence slicing through the tranquility of the early hours. The woman reports hearing strange noises on her roof, suspecting it might be raccoons. The officers enter the house, following the sound to its source. They find themselves navigating through a maze of rooms and staircases, the noises growing louder as they ascend. Upon reaching the second floor, they hear light footsteps, unable to determine if it's an animal or a person. One officer stays with the woman while the other continues to investigate the noises. The investigation leads them to the roof where they spot a figure crawling across it. Despite their commands for the figure to come down, the figure continues to crawl, disappearing from sight. The officers split up to cover both sides of the house. One officer spots the figure on a flat part of the attic, under a window. The other officer enters the house, heading to the attic to confront the intruder. Inside the attic, they find a hole in the screen big enough for a person to fit through. As the officer opens the window, they find the intruder crouched in the corner of the roof just outside the window. The intruder is ordered to show his hands and climb through the window. Once inside, the intruder is detained and identified as Mauricio Guerrero. The officers find a pair of sneakers in the house that don't belong to the residents, as well as a McDonald's bag with food and a drink cup in the attic. They also find a pair of Apple AirPods and a tile tag, a location device, in the attic. Mauricio is arrested and a chilling story begins to unfold. Introducing Private Internet Access, the world's most transparent VPN provider. With over 30 million downloads, they've become the go-to solution for streaming enthusiasts and anyone looking to protect their privacy. Here's some incredible news. By using the link provided, you can enjoy an exclusive 83% discount on private internet access. For just $2.03 a month, you can unlock a world of entertainment. And as a bonus, they'll give you 4 extra months completely free. Private internet access is available on all major platforms. Stream your favorite content on your preferred device. Your one subscription is capable of protecting an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. The VPN works seamlessly with all major streaming services, unlocking a world of content no matter where you are. And yes, they support peer-to-peer file sharing. Private internet access prioritizes your privacy. They never record or store user data, and their no logs policy has been proven multiple times in court and verified by a third-party audit from Deloitte. By using private internet access, you can hide your IP address and encrypt your internet connection. Say goodbye to prying eyes. Have commitment issues? Don't. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and their dedicated 24/7 customer service team is always ready to assist you. Link for this amazing offer in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. The woman who lives in the house, Rachel, is an OnlyFans content creator. She has been living in her mother's home, unaware of the dangers lurking in her own home. She had noticed odd things happening, keys disappearing, windows left ajar, a door off the kitchen left open, but she couldn't piece together the puzzle. It was only when she saw a figure standing in her hallway that she called the police, her instincts screaming that something was wrong. As the police delve into the case, they discover a disturbing narrative. Mauricio, a 20-year-old man from Pennsylvania, had met Rachel online through the paid subscription website OnlyFans. He had become infatuated with her, subscribing to her online profile and initiating a text exchange. Their interactions were initially friendly, with Mauricio even offering to buy Rachel various items, a common practice between OnlyFans content creators and their subscribers. He seemed nice, and Rachel gave him her address because he wanted to buy her a TV and fireplace for her home. But the friendliness of their interactions masked a sinister reality. Over time, Mauricio began visiting Rachel's home without her knowledge. He had somehow obtained her house keys and made copies, giving him unrestricted access to the house. On 5 occasions, he would sneak into her house and hide in the attic, waiting for her to fall asleep. Then he would descend from his hiding place and film her without her consent, even going as far as to record her nude body and steal her undergarments. Mauricio's actions escalated to the point where he planned to place a tracking device on Rachel's car. He had brought the device with him, intending to install it and further invade her privacy. In the aftermath of Mauricio's arrest, he is charged with 5 counts of burglary and 2 counts of invasion of privacy. Fast forward to May 2023, and the court proceedings begin. The prosecution paints a picture of a man driven by obsession, a man who crossed state lines and violated the sanctity of a woman's home to satisfy his infatuation. The prosecution begins by recounting the numerous instances of Mauricio's trespassing. They assert that he broke into Rachel's home 5 times, each time driving about 350 miles from his home in Pennsylvania. He used various methods to gain entry, including breaking a window and using a pry bar to open locked doors. The prosecution then described the chilling details of Mauricio's actions inside Rachel's home. He came prepared with a to-do list that included planting microphones, installing a tracking device on Rachel's car, and making copies of her house key. He even took photographs of her personal belongings and filmed her nude body without her consent. The prosecution emphasizes that Mauricio's actions were not merely the result of a misguided crush. The prosecution then delves into the details of Mauricio's final break-in. He entered Rachel's home in the early hours of the morning, taking off his shoes to avoid making noise. He spent nearly 48 hours inside the house before he was eventually discovered and arrested by the police. Next, it is turn for the defense's opening statements. The defense team paints a picture of Mauricio as a naive young man who was led astray by mixed signals and a lack of understanding of the boundaries of his relationship with Rachel. The defense points out that Mauricio and Rachel had a relationship that extended beyond the typical interactions between an OnlyFans content creator and a subscriber. They assert that Rachel welcomed Mauricio's attention and generosity, even going as far as to give him her address, an act they argue is unusual for content creators on the platform. The defense emphasizes that Mauricio and Rachel had a relationship that escalated to the point of intimacy, with the two engaging in consensual intimate activities on 2 occasions. They argue that Mauricio believed he and Rachel were in a genuine relationship, a belief that was fueled by Rachel's messages of affection and her expressed enjoyment of her intimate encounters. The defense team argues that Mauricio's actions, while misguided and impulsive, were not criminal in intent. They assert that he did not enter Rachel's home with the intent of committing a crime, but rather to retrieve his belongings following a disagreement with Rachel. They urge the jury to consider the evidence and the law in determining whether Mauricio's actions constitute a crime or whether they were the result of a young man's misguided understanding of a complex and unusual relationship. At trial, Rachel, the victim, would testify. Rachel is 25 years old and shares her home with her mother and her son. OnlyFans, as she explains, is a platform where she can sell videos and photos of herself. It's a source of income, but it also opens her up to interactions with strangers, one of whom was Mauricio. Their relationship, if it can be called that, is a complex one, filled with ambiguities and unspoken expectations. Their initial contact was through the platform, but eventually they exchanged phone numbers. Mauricio expressed interest in buying items for Rachel. However, she insists there was no explicit exchange for these items, suggesting that Mauricio bought them simply because he liked her. Their communication became more frequent and intimate over time, with Rachel admitting that she might have led Mauricio on by expressing affection and even her love for him. She also mentioned that she might have hinted at a desire to meet him in person someday. However, she clarifies that she never considered Mauricio as a boyfriend, but conceded that he might have perceived their relationship differently. She explains that Mauricio was kind to her, complimenting her and making her feel special. He even bought her a TV and a fireplace for her apartment, which she said made her feel like he liked her. Rachel admits that she began saying things like she loved him and that she was sexually attracted to him.
I want to talk to you specifically about one of your subscribers from back then, Mauricio Guerrero. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me how you initially met him?
On OnlyFans.
Can you explain a little bit more what that was like?
He messaged me, and we talked for a bit, and then I believe I gave him my number, because he was gonna buy me things, and that's really all I remember. I think I just said I want what I needed for an apartment. I think it was a TV and a fireplace. And he said that he ordered them.
Was there anything that you
No.
Then why do you think that he would be getting it for you?
Objection.
If you know.
Because he liked me, I think.
Do you think that he believed you were in a relationship?
Yeah.
Why?
Just the way he acted, I guess.
Did you ever tell him that you thought of him as like a boyfriend?
I could have, yeah.
You said that he might have thought that you two were more than what you thought at the time.
Yeah.
Do you think that anything you did contributed to that?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you mean by that?
I probably led him on. I said things like, I really like you. I don't really remember the text I sent, but
Did you ever express that you had like love for him?
I probably did.
Or what about attraction to him?
Yes.
Did you ever mention being like sexually attracted or interested in him?
Yes, most likely.
Did you ever talk about like meeting in person like someday?
Probably.
Did you ever make any like concrete plans to hang out?
I don't remember.
What about saying things like, I wish he was here?
Yeah, I do remember saying that.
On one occasion, Mauricio traveled 6 hours to visit Rachel in New Hampshire, but she was too scared to meet him in person. Despite this, he left money on her windshield before leaving. She admits to having exchanged messages with him, but she insists that these were part of her job as an OnlyFans content creator. She was providing a service, and Mauricio was a customer. Rachel explains that throughout their relationship, she was dealing with low self-esteem and a heavy drinking problem.
How was your like self-esteem at that point?
Very low.
And what about your alcohol consumption? Can you describe that?
Yeah, I was drinking almost every night. A lot.
Is there a reason for that?
Just to kind of numb everything.
On cross-examination, the defense starts by questioning Rachel about the nature of her relationship with Mauricio. The defense points out that she had willingly given Mauricio her address, a fact that she does not deny. He suggests that this was not a typical action for someone who only saw the other party as a customer. The defense attorney then moves on to the text messages exchanged between Rachel and Mauricio. He highlights the fact that Rachel had sometimes texted Mauricio that she loved him when she was drunk. Rachel admits to this, but insists she never intended for these messages to be taken as a sign of romantic interest. The defense, for example, brings up text messages between Rachel and Mauricio, where she would seemingly indicate she found his unannounced visits attractive.
You also say the next day, on the 12th, talking about coming by unannounced. You say to him, like, I would never want you to do that again. Ever say that to him on the next day?
Yes.
But then you say, a minute later, but it was a little hot.
Correct.
Why would you say that?
I'm not sure.
He was surprised by it when you said that. Do you remember him saying something like, are you being sarcastic? Are you kidding me? Remember him saying that?
Correct.
And you said, no, I swear to God. Right?
Right?
Next, the defense questions Rachel about the intimate relation she had with Mauricio. Rachel acknowledges that they had consensual intimate relations on at least one occasion when he visited her, but does not appear to give this act much weight.
Now, on December 22nd, that was the day that he came out to visit you and you guys had sex, correct?
Correct.
And as I understand it, when we were interviewed, when we asked you this, it's fair to say you didn't enjoy that, right?
Correct.
Okay. But you didn't tell him that, did you?
No.
In fact, you told him a couple different times, that was great.
Correct.
Throughout the cross-examination, the defense attorney attempts to paint a picture of a relationship that was more than just a content creator and subscriber. He suggests that Rachel's actions and messages led Mauricio to believe that their relationship was more intimate than it was. Mauricio, too, would take the stand. He explains that he first made contact with Rachel by subscribing to her OnlyFans account and beginning a relationship that would soon escalate beyond the platform. Mauricio describes how the relationship evolved from subscriber and content creator to something more personal. They began to FaceTime daily, discussing their likes, dislikes, future plans, and engaging in intimate conversations. He admits they exchanged I love yous, and he genuinely believed Rachel reciprocated his feelings. A few months later, their relationship took a more serious turn. They began discussing the possibility of meeting in person. Mauricio was initially hesitant due to the long drive from Pennsylvania to New Hampshire, where Rachel lived. Mauricio explains that he sent Rachel gifts, including the TV and the fireplace, to her mother's address. He also receives exclusive pictures from Rachel, which he admits were more explicit than the content she posted on OnlyFans. After a few months, Mauricio felt that their relationship had the potential to become something more. He recounts how they discussed meeting up and even having intercourse. He felt that Rachel wanted him to come to New Hampshire, and he eventually decided to make the trip. On his first visit, Mauricio felt they had feelings for each other. He believed their relationship had moved to that of a boyfriend and girlfriend, as she had previously expressed a desire for him to be obsessed with her. He was under the impression that Rachel shared his feelings, setting the stage for the events that would follow.
So you went up and I'm gonna guess you didn't just knock on the door, right? How did that tell us?
I couldn't, because there was to get up to her apartment, she said that you had to enter a code to a door and you can enter the complex of said apartment. But
So how did you manage, how does the lock? Well, did you drive up there, where'd you park?
to drive up there and probably text her, but I was nervous to text her or tell her, because I didn't know how it was gonna go.
Did you weren't sure you were actually gonna make contact, you were having a second thought potentially?
It was,
Tell us why that is.
because I believe she would have been disappointed in seeing me or
Why
seeing
is that?
I believe she was too good enough for me, that I wasn't good enough for her. I know, sorry.
So you have insecurity, is that fair?
I do, I somewhat did at the time. I know I'm not an attractive person, I'm not someone really attractive, but she was giving me attention like no one else did at the time.
Did you let her know you were there somehow, or did she figure it out?
She figured it out.
How'd she do that?
She texted me that she saw a person in a truck, in a gray truck. And at first, she asked me if it was me or not. And of course, I declined at first, but she started asking again and again, and I told her that it was me.
So you finally told her it was actually you?
Yes,
At first you were saying, no, it wasn't me, right?
yes.
How'd she react to that?
She told me that it wasn't okay me to do that, and she told me that I had to leave, that this is her place that she lived at, and she told me to leave, and I did.
And as you were leaving, did she send you texts?
Yes.
Tell us what the text said.
She would text me if she looked ugly while coming out of her car or anything like that. And I told her no. And later on, she would tell me that she missed me, that it was hot for me to do that.
Hot for you to come up unannounced and surprise her? That was hot.
Yes.
That
And
played into the stalking game?
yeah,
Tell us. So how'd you respond to that?
I told her that At first it was okay, but she told me that she missed me and she wished that she could have invited me up.
This is
But
all on the 7th of the West?
yes,
And so you go home.
yes. I was going home and she decided to still text me around that time when I got home, asking me how was the drive back home and everything. And that,
So everything's all right?
yes,
Back to the way it was, right?
yeah.
Did she continue to tell you things to suggest that how she felt about you?
Yes, she still continued to say things like, I loved you. And of course, then we would FaceTime again still a lot of times.
Did you talk about things like the stalker game or the obsession game? Or tell us what she was saying about that and you started saying.
She said she wanted me to be obsessed with her, to be a stalker, that she liked it. That
Mauricio admits to breaking into Rachel's home, but explains he thought she would find this attractive.
Did you go in her house?
yes,
Why?
because I believe it's something she would wanted me to do.
Okay. And while you were there, did she know you were there?
No,
So you didn't ask her if you were coming to the house? She never told you you could come to the house, right?
no,
Okay. You said you thought that would be okay.
yes.
Why did you think that?
Because we would talk about it. We would talk about many things, and I just believed that if I did this, that she would be happy that I did it, that she would be okay with me doing it.
Now her mother wasn't there, right? Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
You ever talked to her mother?
No,
Her mother never said it was okay to do that, right?
no.
Did you use anything to get in? How'd you do it?
I tried to use the crowbars.
How'd that work out?
It didn't.
Why?
I wasn't strong enough to pull it up, to jam it in and to pull it up. And so I decided to go to the back bar window and decided to pull.
When you went into the house that night, what was your intention?
My intentions, so just to talk to her again and maybe she, to make her happy again that I made it in or something, because it's something like a fantasy that she would want me to do sometimes.
On Mauricio's cross-examination, the prosecution begins by questioning Mauricio about his interactions with Rachel. They focus on the messages exchanged between the two, highlighting instances where Rachel explicitly told Mauricio she did not want him at her house. The prosecution continues to press Mauricio on his belief that he had permission to enter Rachel's house. They point out that Mauricio never mentioned this belief during his initial arrest or in his apology note to Rachel after his arrest.
Now, I want to go back to something that you were talking about on Friday. You had said that it was your belief that you thought Rachel wanted to break into her house.
Yes,
So your claim to this jury is that all the entries you made to her house, you thought were okay.
yes,
But you'd agree with me that in the 3 months that you and Rachel had been corresponding, she never once invited you into her mother's house.
no,
And if not for breaking in, you probably never would have been invited into her
Objection.
mother's house.
Sustained.
Did you have any reason to believe that Rachel would invite you into her mother's house?
Can you repeat that, please?
Sure. Based on how she had treated you all along, you had no reason to believe that she would ever invite you into her mother's house.
Right.
In fact, she had specifically said when she was moving back in with her mother that now you guys could never hang out.
Yes.
And she had made specific comments about you not being able to come by because it was her mother's house. Is that right?
Right.
And I think the night of the messages that are in evidence, she was upset with you because she said, this is my mother's house. You just can't come here. Right?
Right.
And you said, I know, I fucked up.
Yes.
So this was something that you knew, that she did not want you in her mother's house.
Yes.
The prosecution then turns to Mauricio's actions on the night of the alleged burglaries. They point out that Mauricio did not mention breaking into Rachel's house during his interviews with the police, instead focusing on their alleged on and off relationship. They also highlight that Mauricio admitted to trying to open Rachel's window to get into her house. The prosecution also points out that Mauricio admitted to taking pictures of Rachel and her belongings while at the house. They highlight that Mauricio admitted to being scared at the time of his actions, contradicting his earlier claims that he thought Rachel wanted him to break into her house.
My question for you is during the hour period, when you're filming and looking at her vagina, she realizes you're here and you leave. What are you doing?
Don't know.
Are you in her room watching her sleep?
No. No.
Sitting there masturbating? What are you doing?
No, I don't remember that much.
Well, they were there for over 2 hours, Mauricio. And other than taking a few pictures, we know very little about what you did. You're the only one that can answer that question. So can you answer that question? What were you doing?
Don't remember.
Don't remember, or you don't want to answer that question?
I don't remember.
Well, let's talk for a second about what you didn't do while you were in the residence. And we already know that you never told her you were there, okay? She also never took the TV back, did you?
No.
My point is, Mauricio, when the police are talking to you and Captain Sunland's asking you questions, you lied to them several times, didn't you?
At first I did, but then I told them everything.
You lied about coming at 11, right? You just said that 2 minutes ago. You lied about coming at 11,
Yes.
right?
I did lie about that.
Okay, you lied about using the priority to get in, right?
I did.
You lied about the last time you came up to New Hampshire. You said the 10th, in reality, it was the 20th, right?
I did, but on that day I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I was confused.
You asked specifically about stealing the keys to make a copy, and you lied about that, right?
Yes.
When asked how you got in, you said that the door was simply open, and that was a lie, right?
Yes.
And when you asked about the tile device that was found, you said it was for your keys, and that was a lie, right?
Yes.
It was only after Matt Guerrero came into that interview and confronted you with things that he found that you actually admitted to any of that, right?
Yes.
Fair to say that you only admitted to things when you were confronted with direct evidence to the contrary, right?
Yes.
Throughout the cross-examination, Mauricio's responses are often hesitant and uncertain. His repeated admissions of guilt and his inability to provide an explanation for his actions that is grounded in fact paints a negative picture for his case. At the conclusion of the trial, Mauricio was found guilty of 2 of the 4 counts of burglary, along with criminal trespass and invasion of privacy. The invasion of privacy conviction is particularly damning. It is for filming Rachel's body while she was asleep, a violation that underscopes the deeply personal and invasive nature of Mauricio's actions. Despite the defense's argument that Mauricio believed he was in a romantic relationship with Rachel, the jury's verdict reflects a different perspective. The text messages, the unannounced visits, and the invasion of privacy paint a picture of obsession rather than romance. Mauricio, a young man at the start of his life, will now carry the weight of a felony conviction. The potential sentences for the burglary charges are severe, with one carrying a maximum of 15 years and the other a maximum of 7. The misdemeanor charges could result in up to 12 months each. His sentencing proceeding is expected to take place in July 2023. The case of Mauricio Guerrero presents a case characterized by infatuation, obsession, and a distorted perception of reality. Mauricio's infatuation with Rachel, a woman he met on OnlyFans, is the driving force behind his actions. Infatuation is an intense but short-lived passion or admiration for someone. It is often characterized by a sense of urgency, a desire for reciprocation, and a fear of rejection. Mauricio's infatuation with Rachel manifested in his obsessive behaviors, his unannounced visits to her home, and his violation of her privacy. However, infatuation alone does not explain Mauricio's actions. His behavior also suggests a lack of understanding of boundaries and consent, likely stemming from his distorted perception of their relationship. Mauricio believed that he and Rachel were in a romantic relationship, despite evidence to the contrary. This belief, coupled with his infatuation, appears to have him interpret Rachel's actions and words in a way that reinforced his delusions. Rachel's role in this dynamic is also worth examining. As an OnlyFans content creator, her job involved creating a sense of intimacy and connection with her subscribers. She exchanged messages with Mauricio, sometimes expressing affection or love, and even had consensual intimate relations with him in real life. These actions may have inadvertently encouraged Mauricio's infatuation and fed his delusions, despite Rachel's insistence that she did not see them as being in a relationship. However, it's crucial to note that Rachel's actions do not excuse or justify Mauricio's behavior. Regardless of how she interacted with him, Mauricio's decision to invade her privacy, break into her home, and violate her boundaries was his own. His inability to distinguish between the fantasy of their online interactions and the reality of their relationship was a significant factor in his actions. The case of Mauricio Guerrero serves as a reminder of the potential dangers of online platforms and the blurred boundaries they can create. Mauricio's infatuation with Rachel, fueled by his distorted perception of their relationship and his inability to distinguish between fantasy and reality, led to a series of actions that violated Rachel's privacy and safety. We want to give a huge thank you to everyone over on Patreon. We want to give a big shout out to Nexus, Big Pepperoni Pizza, Chrissy R, Catherine D, and Tony S. If you would like access to ad-free and uncensored versions of all Wicked videos, feel free to join our Patreon. Link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and join us next time when we explore the psychological maze of some of the most wicked people.